Colonel Myers here again. This next drill is a very basic but a very essential and important drill on just basic thrusting, and I call it the triangle thrust drill or the triple thrust drill. If you recall, the way we number our angles is based on the clock face. So essentially, if I'm viewing the clock on the wall, I could thrust at any one of those angles, right? Anywhere around the clock face I could launch a thrust. But there are three important angles that we use the most, and those are angle 5, which is just coming straight up like a straight thrust, angle number 1, which is coming around the top, which is a forehand thrust because my palm is down, and then angle 11 coming on this side, which is a backhand thrust because my palm is up. So those are three essential angles we put into a drill so we can practice them. So we're practicing angle 1, 5, and 11. And that's the sequence. So if I'm considering it a 3-count combo, it's 1, 2, 3, and then back to 1, 2, 3. So that's the drill. I'm thrusting up straight, backhand. Right? So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you'll notice these basic thrusts are really functioning most at mid-range, middle range, right? I'm not extending out. It's when I'm already close, I'm doing something, I can throw that thrust in. Now I might be far enough out that I can take just one step and land, so kind of on the edge of long range into middle range, but I'm not doing a full lunge. There'll be another whole video lesson on what I call the rapier thrusts, which are definitely delivered from long range moving in. And the rapier thrusts are the typical lunge, inquartada, and the pasada sotto. But again, those are specialized thrusts. They'll come later. I don't consider those part of the basics, where this is very basic. Now, when we talk about the rapier thrust, we'll also get into the timings and talk a little bit about George Silver. We don't really need to talk about that here, other than just realize when you're doing these basic thrusts, the thing to kind of remember and keep in mind is that the weapon leads. The weapon always leads. In other words, I don't want to telegraph what I'm doing. So when I'm going to do a thrust, I'm not going to lean forward and then thrust. I'm not going to do that, because then the guy will see it coming. So the weapon always leads. I just make sure I'm firing the weapon first before I move my body or take a step. The weapon leads, even if it's only by a split second. The weapon leads. Okay? Now, there's a reason why we do this 3-count combination as a 1, 2, 3, because there is a logic chain here. And part of it is when I talked about on another video about deceptions. There's a deception built into this, and I call it the drift. If I start with angle number 1 and he starts to throw his hand up to block, or I'm just trying to draw his arms up, I can drift this shoom, right into that second beat. So 1 to 2, 1 to 2. It looks like it's coming up at this angle, and then it drifts right around and hits here. All right? So that's the first one. I go to throw number 1, he throws his arm up to block, or there's just something in the way, and I just flow right into this thrust without even pausing. Just a nice smooth motion. 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2. All right? Now, what if I throw a number 2? The most likely thing, if somebody sees that coming, right? If I see something coming down the center, usually I'm getting out of the way and I'm trying to knock it away, or knock it away with my hand. They're gonna. So the idea here is something is coming from this side, and as I meet a force that's pushing me that way, I just follow that momentum up. So I start here. Maybe he starts to reach to block me or get out of the way, and then I just immediately let it drift up. So again, it's a nice smooth from here to here. So from 2 to 3, 2 to 3 is a drift. 2 to 3, 2 to 3. Now likewise, if I've thrown the third one, and the guy looks like he's going to block, or there's something in the way, it's awkward to try to drift back down here, because my angle, I'm trying to thrust from the backhand like this, doesn't work. But it's real smooth to drift right back around to here again. So if something's in the way, I just redirect and come right back to the other side of it. If I go to block, or I go to thrust and I hit a block, or he blocks me, throws his arm up, just use that momentum and come right back to the other side. So 1 can drift to 2, 2 can drift to 3, 3 can drift back to 1. And that's the reason to get that sequence kind of ingrained. 1, 2, 3. So it's a number 1, angle number 1, angle number 5, angle number 11. 1, 5, and 11. As far as angles in the sequence, it's 1, 2, 3. So straight on, I'm in my stance, right? There's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. A drift from 1 to 2. Boom, boom, boom. A drift from 2 to 3. Boom, boom, boom. And a drift from 3 back to 1. Boom, boom, boom. And that's why I call it triangle thrusting. You notice the points of I'm forming the points of a triangle. One's here, one here, one here. So there's the triangle. Here's the top edge, the bottom point, the top point. When I drift, I go from here to here. I've just made one side of the triangle. When I go from here to here, I've made another side of the triangle. When I go from here to here, I've made the top of the triangle. So, triangle thrusting drill. This drill is very important just to learn the basics thrusts. But if you watch the comma cut drill, you can see that this is already, comma cut drill comes out of a portion of this. That's this portion. When you see us do the knife tapping drill, the knife tapping drill is based on these 3 angles of thrust. And later on we're going to do a 2-man drill which shows cross-cutting and defense against all 3 of these angles. And so this basic triangle thrusting drill becomes part of that as well. So very, very essential drill to work on. Thank you. Alright, so show how this drifts now that I've got a partner. If I'm throwing this up and Adrian puts his hand up, I know it's about to be blocked, so I don't even stop. The momentum just comes around and nails him here. Right? So I throw it up and it comes around. If he was reaching out to block me, it's the same way. I'm going away from it. If he was cutting into me with his knife, look how his knife is coming on this pathway, and as this knife is aimed at my forearm, I'm coming out of the pathway of the knife and hitting him here. So that's how that first one drifts. Boom. The second one, if I'm thrusting straight, he's going to be chopping down, or if he didn't have a knife in his hand, he'd be blocking this way. But the instinctive thing people are going to do is that backhand kind of block, and so when he does, I just drift right around here. Right? Or if he makes contact, I just bounce and come up. The big thing though is I'm trying to, again, avoid the path. He starts to cut down at my arm and I'm out of the pathway and I hit him. That's the drift. Likewise up here, if he started to put his arm up to block, I just come right around to the other side. Right? If he was cutting at my arm with his blade, I'm getting out of the pathway and coming to this side. That's that built-in drift. So that's why the drill has these wide circular motions, because it's adapting to the angles. Right? It's drifting from one to the other. Okay?